All right, so it's been a little over a year since Theo Vaughn left King and the Sting, and as expected, since Theo left, things have not been going very well for Brendan Schaub. I mean, things were already not the best, but Theo leaving was definitely just a nail in the coffin for him. But for Theo, on the other hand, it was probably the best move he could have made. I mean, his podcast has only grown since he's left Brendan, and it's probably bigger than ever, and he seems a lot happier. So before he left, I'm sure he started to realize Brendan is only holding him back, and working with him towards the end, I'm sure was just a headache that Theo did not need to deal with. And over this past year, it's become more and more obvious that was the case. I mean, even right when he left, I think most people could have told you it was probably to get away from Brendan. And I'm not saying he hates Brendan, I'm sure they're still friendly with each other, but after a while, he's probably sick of dealing with all the drama Brendan was involved in. And he probably realized working with him and Chris D'Elia, who was also on King and the Sting towards the end, Theo probably realized that they're liabilities and it's not the best career move to associate with them. Like Chris D'Elia gets canceled, it seems like every 6 months there's a new article or video that drops about it. And then Brendan Schaub, the whole Trug Walk thing, and then all the stuff with Mark Harley and his wife. It's just a mess. And I don't think Brendan is ever going to get his shit together. And I think Theo probably realized that. And also Theo was getting dragged into some of it. Like with the whole recent podcast alleged scam going on with Cast Media. I'm sure pretty much everybody has heard about that by now. If you're not familiar with it, you can check out CoffeeZilla's video. But Theo was dragged into that by Brendan Schaub, of course. And Brendan even admitted right from the start Theo was not a fan of Cast Media and he did not trust them and their CEO, Colin Thompson, who, if you listen to him talk for 5 seconds, he's not trustworthy. But of course, Brendan took the deal and he got Theo involved with it too. So I'm sure Theo was not happy about that.
Theo's good though. He called it from day one. He wasn't a fan of Cast from day one.
And Brendan also said Theo left Cast, I think around a year ago. So around the same time he left King the Sting. So I'm sure that played a big part in it. Because also if Theo was skeptical of it, I'm sure Brendan had to talk him into it a little bit. And I'm sure Cast Media probably told Brendan, like, hey, if you get Theo involved, we'll give you a bonus or something like that. So Brendan's probably telling Theo, like, dude, we can make so much money here. And the only reason Brendan said he took the deal is because they're offering more money than all the other companies. So Theo, he's probably very skeptical. He's probably like, well, if they're offering you a ton of money, there's probably a reason they're doing that. There's something sketchy going on here. But Brendan talked him into it. And what do you know? It was a sketchy deal.
Theo Vaughn was introduced by Brendan Schaub. But I asked Brian and Brendan how they got involved.
I'm like, man, this guy's killing it for us, man.
Yeah.
I made 1.6 million this year, and like, damn, that's more than I made. Who you think you'd take me on? Then it becomes this like snowball effect, and and then everybody's there.
And when they started King and the Sting, Brendan was actually the more successful podcaster at the time. He had been doing it for years already. He already had a pretty big podcast, and Theo was starting to take off. He was seeing some success, but it was still early on. So I'm sure Brendan's like, oh, dude, I'll show you the ropes. I'll help you figure everything out. I'll get you brand deals and all that stuff. And I bet Brendan was always trying to act like his mentor or his manager or something, and he always knew what was best for him. And that's probably how he got him in the Cast Media deal. Like earlier this year, Theo was talking about something that sounds pretty similar to this during a podcast with Louis C.K.
It's the past couple years of my life where I chose to do certain things, and I'm like, I know this doesn't feel right, but I feel like I need to do it for money, or I feel like I need to do it for... And once I got out of some of that, everything has fallen so much more into place. I've gotten my semblance of human. Like, I just feel like myself more again. It's been pretty fascinating.
Good.
Yeah, so my guess is Brendan was always trying to talk Theo into new business deals like the Cast Media one, and Theo didn't really want to do it that much, but he probably had trouble saying no, and he'd eventually get into it and regret it right afterwards. Like, also, there's another example of this. After Theo had left King the Sting, there's a fight companion that he's supposed to be doing with Barstool Sports, and Brendan Schaub, I think, was partnered with them, or he was at least hosting it or something like that. And Theo was on the poster of it, and he was supposed to be doing it. But then they brought it up to him, and he had no idea what they're talking about. He's like, I did not agree to that. So it sounds like somebody might have asked him to do it, and he's like, yeah, I'll get back to you. But then they just put him on the poster and expected him to be there. And a lot of the speculation was Brendan Schaub is the one who asked him about it and just assumed he would show up to it.
We have a busy day. We're doing Rough and Rowdy, which you're doing the stream with, right?
I think so.
I've seen your face in the flyer.
So he's probably doing it.
We'll see.
I don't know. He gave me a little.
He's thinking about it.
He's like, are the numbers not right? What's going on? Are you doing the stream? No.
I don't know. I didn't make that deal. I don't know. I just got put on the flyer, I guess.
It's Schaub. It's your face.
I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know a lot about this. I will look into it, though. I appreciate it.
Well, you appreciate it. We didn't. It wasn't through us.
Oh, well, it wasn't through me. That's what I'm saying. I feel like this is like,
Yeah, and Theo ended up not doing it, of course. So it sounds like even after he's left King the Sting, Brendan still might be trying to make plans for him, which would be annoying as hell. But it sounds like Theo's always trying to be polite as possible about it. You know, he never really wants to throw Brendan under the bus, but he does accidentally give some hints once in a while. He just can't help it. Like, only a month after he left King and the Sting, he was doing a podcast with the singer from Creed, and he was talking about how you gotta love everybody. And Theo's like, yeah, I try, but people just make it so hard sometimes. And it's like he's trying not to say Brendan, and then he says Brenda, and he talks about how it was really dicey. So I think everybody gets the hint here.
And we just gotta love each other.
I know it's
And
fucking hard
it
though.
is,
Once
it
you meet
is.
people, you're like, damn.
I know.
It's hard to love Rodney. You know, it's like her, you know, damn, Brenda's out
you're
here.
you're right. You're
so
right.
It gets dicey.
It's so easy to say.
And since Theo's left, I don't think he's done any podcasts with Brendan. So I think he probably just had a detox from him for a while. Like, it was probably best for him to take a break from Brendan, because if he continued to work with him, he'd probably just hate him even more and more. Like, I'm sure Theo's getting kind of annoyed doing the podcast with Brendan, but he could probably put up with it for the most part. Like, what really got to Theo, I'm sure, was seeing Brendan constantly make these stupid mistakes and shooting himself in the foot over and over again, and then Theo was getting dragged into it. I mean, the guy just cannot stay out of drama, and he's a terrible judge of character. I mean, hiring Mark Harley was obviously a terrible decision, and working with Colin Thompson and Cast Media was another terrible decision, and then pressuring Theo into taking the deal as well after Theo was very skeptical of it probably really hurt their friendship a lot. So it's pretty obvious why Theo would want to get away from that mess and just do his own thing. And like I said, he's even been really respectful towards Brendan in all this. You know, even with the Cast Media thing, he never brought Brendan up. He never said, Brendan's the one that talked me into this. I never wanted to do it. I think Brendan only mentioned that. Like, Theo has left Brendan out of it for the most part, which must be hard to do. But I think Theo, he's happy where he's at now. So it's all just water under the bridge. But it sounds like it's still too soon for him to do any podcasts with Brendan. Like, when he was leaving King of the Sting, he said, you know, I'll pop back in once in a while, but it's been a year since he's left, and I don't think he's done any podcasts with Brendan. And Brendan said Theo's in LA all the time still, but he must be trying to hold off as long as possible to do another podcast with him.
Theo's out here a lot, right?
Yeah, he's out here
And
a
then he's
lot.
in LA all the fucking time. Like, why'd you move?
Well, you know, he's kind of like a rambling man. I just think he got bummed out by LA and he just didn't want to do it anymore. Cheers, gentlemen.
Yeah, I
Cheers.
probably should have followed him.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now I'm just depressed out there.
And it is pretty surprising Brendan's still in LA, but I'm sure the move to Texas is coming very soon. And for Theo, you know, when he announced he was leaving King the Sting, Brendan was saying he needs to go figure things out. And I'd say he's figured things out. He's figured out getting away from Brendan was a smart move. But let me know what you guys think about it all down in the comments. And make sure you go check out my Patreon account. There's a lot of exclusive content up there. I just posted a video about Russell Brand getting canceled. I also have a video about the worst podcast of all time. I also have one about the downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos, and also this really cringy Joe Rogan Experience episode with Amy Schumer. And then also, there's one other video I wanted to mention here. I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, Michael Richards, you know, Kramer's infamous meltdown at the Laugh Factory. Can't forget that one. So there's a lot of good content on Patreon. Make sure you go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. And then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.